We're entering the time of year when I wear a sweatshirt around the house because it's a little cooler out. And I'm a little, I don't know if embarrassed, that's too strong a word. I'm a little concerned because I typically, I have a Mr. Rogers routine and I come home from being out where people see me and I put on the same sweatshirt every day, pretty much from mid October through early May. It gets washed a couple of times during the season, and the shirt under it is clean on a daily basis. But now that we're recording these videos, I feel like people are going to get pretty darn used to this green. What do you call 3-button Henley? Isn't that what it's called?
Henley long sleeve.
Yeah, it's got all the little wear bumps on it. So.
Not only our audience, but I also kind of get tired of seeing.
This is why I like. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Do you see how much that concerns me?
I look at the closet and I'm like, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh, look at that.
I'm sure you think that when you look at me a lot versus other people that you see in the world.
No, the clothes. Like you are a Mr. Rogers. You have your little routine.
Well, today we're going to talk about the after effect of events, and as it relates to trying to be sober or being in partnership with someone who is sober. We are recording this on November 1st, and it'll come out the week after Halloween. And so what better time is there than as we enter this holiday season, this just back to back to back, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or whatever winter holiday you might celebrate, Hanukkah, Festivus, whatever one that is, and then New Year's. There are all these opportunities for us drinkers and former drinkers to relapse or not relapse. And there are challenges associated with both sides of that coin. And so I think the thing that people think of the most is, oh my God, here comes this event. Is my partner going to relapse? Or am I, as the former drinker, here we come. It's Halloween's coming, and I used to take this coffee mug, and instead of having coffee in it, I used to have some liquid, an IPA or whiskey or something in it as I walked around the neighborhood. And now I don't do that. So how am I going to get through Halloween? But what people don't think is, what about the days that follow? And I would argue that on a non-scientific basis, just from an anecdotal basis, from the people that we've met, relapses take place at a higher rate following the event than leading up to or during the event. Is that your experience as well, Sherry?
Well, since I don't have to worry about necessarily a addiction relapse, I can kind of put myself in the mindset of someone who is experiencing fighting for sobriety, in that, like, you have this adrenaline raising as you're approaching the event, and then that sort of letdown and that chemical flood. I mean, I know there have been a lot of times where I've been anxious about going into an event and it happens and things are good, and I sort of have like an emotional relapse, or like I'm, sometimes depending on how stressed I am or how worried, I can actually, I'm remembering several times where I've like had migraines, like from that like letdown of adrenaline sort of thing. So I'm sure it's very much like a chemical balance and stress level and anxiety level. So it probably is, if you are, an addict of some sort, it probably is easy to relapse after the event. You've made it through. And then this like flood of emotions take over.
I think the hormonal chemicals, that I actually hadn't thought to talk about that today, but I think you're absolutely right. They are there as a form of protection. You have all this willpower, but more than willpower, you have this determination that I'm going to make it through this event. I'm not going to drink. And then part of that is your brain chemistry. Part of that is your hormones, that all that stuff flooding through your system. And then when that's gone and the event's gone, part of your protection is gone. Besides the chemical side of it, I think the other side is emotional. We get through, and the thing that we were anxious about, the thing we were preparing for, is gone. And so on the backside of these holidays, often there just isn't much there other than mundane routine, and nobody's looking. That's the other thing. And so we think, gosh, when potentially people were looking, when it was an event where people came together, I did good. And now nobody's looking. Nobody cares. Who am I trying to be good for now? Nobody cares on the backside. And so there's all of these things that pile up against us when the goal is to maintain that sobriety through the backside of the holiday for sure, or event. And one of them that I want to mention is we act like millennials at work, Sherry, us alcoholics. Millennials at work. And what I mean by that is, there's all kinds of jokes and memes. And when we owned the bakery, personal experiences that we had where the paycheck wasn't enough for the millennial. They wanted an attaboy for showing up on time and good job for actually working for 8 consecutive hours and doing the thing you're paid to do. And so that's what I think happens with alcoholism a lot too. We go through a holiday without creating chaos and trauma for our family, without lying and deceiving and overdoing it and just making a mess of everything. And we want some big attaboys. And if we don't get our big attaboys, then we sit there, in the case of Halloween, we sit there on November 2nd or 3rd and think, why the hell did I work so hard to stay sober? Nobody cares. There's no congratulations or, in all honesty, there's no like sexual reward for, look what a good boy I was. Why aren't you climbing all over me since I stayed sober for the holiday? I think that's something that a lot of our viewers will be able to relate to. And it's just really, it's a selfish way to go through life. We don't deserve a reward for not creating chaos and trauma. That should be the baseline. And when we are in early sobriety, understanding that that's the baseline and not something that is deserving of congratulations is really hard. Do you remember times when I was looking for a little attaboy because I had made it through something as stressful as Halloween? I mean, I say it, I'm kind of mocking myself here, but at the time it certainly felt very stressful and it felt like an accomplishment.
Well, since words of affirmation were one of the love languages that you subscribe to, I know there's a lot.
Not a big love languages fan overall, but
yes, exactly.
But I do like attaboys.
But you do like being recognized.
Indeed.
And that's like my weakest point.
Yeah.
So looking back for sure, I can see how I probably could have been a little more verbal, like, hey, I bet that was, even if it was like, hey, that was tough. I'm glad you did that. Could have maybe gone a long way.
But I don't think
know.
It's your job.
I was going to say, but I don't know. That's not my job. But also, I mean, there have been situations where I've said, if I said this, would this have prevented? And you're like, no, because that's in
right.
me.
That's right. By you not giving attaboys, that it was hard and it took longer, but it made me build the internal fortitude, the internal self-esteem tools so that I didn't need those external little things to fill my bucket, which is important because if you want to rewind to the beginning of the video, as you saw, I live with someone who's quick to point out when she doesn't like what I'm, for instance, wearing. So it's good to have I think it's warm and cozy. So I'm happy on the inside.
Well, I bought it. You don't buy clothes. I bought it, so I like
years
it.
Ago.
But yeah.
If you'd like to hear more of our opinionated ramblings, please check out our Untoxicated podcast.
And if you're more of the reading type, please go to soberandunashamed.com.
If you're picking up what we're laying down, you might be ready to find your tribe. Please check out echoesofrecovery.org or shoutsobriety.org. We get what you're going through. You've got this and we've got you.